Hello and welcome. My name's Peter Sumpton, marketing consultant and Lego master of marketing, and you're listening to the Marketing Study Lab podcast live. Well, this bit isn't live, but the rest of it is. You'll hear a bit about that later. I mean, now. Well, let's crack on. These episodes are taken from my live show, Marketing And, where we look at the relationship between marketing and a specific topic, subject, or specialism. Sometimes there'll be guests, other times it'll just be me. So let's get cracking. Okay, fantastic. Live. Love it. And I am so delighted to be joined today for this little chat with Mr. James Perry. James, how are you doing?
I am great, Peter. What about yourself? Thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm doing pretty damn well, to be fair. All is good. Big workshop today.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Yeah, just a bit of technical difficulty there. Yeah, I did a workshop today that had loads of people in it, which was absolutely fantastic. All engaged, all interested in marketing and the theory and about how you build a marketing plan and stuff like that. So I can't complain. Sun's shining. I think it's a bit cold outside, but who cares? This isn't a weather forecast, so we don't really care about
Believe
that.
it or not, the weather is lovely here and it's not cold. And we're in the north of Ireland here, which is always
Get
cold.
out. Get out. That's not...
Like Peter, like I say to people, the Latin for Ireland is Hibernia, which means the land of winter. So, hey.
See, now you're going to have to come back on because I don't know enough about Ireland and I don't know how I'm going to link it to marketing, but there's bound to be some way. And your knowledge of marketing, your knowledge of Ireland and the history is unreal. So, yeah, we're going to have to link that in some way, shape or form. Not sure how, but let's do that.
One thing I would say, here we go. One of the biggest brands in the world is Irish. Guinness.
Well, see, that's why I invite you on. You just keep me in check and make me look a fool. Because
and brand Ireland, for a country is incredibly strong. How can a country, an island of 6 million people, get every person in the world to celebrate Irishness on one particular day, or St. Patrick's Day? That's marketing at its finest.
That is brilliant. That isn't how I thought we'd start today, but yeah, let's carry on down that route. And you're absolutely bang right. Like what Guinness do, you know, they are the antithesis of a heritage historic brand which keeps transforming what they do from a marketing perspective, yet keeping that history and those brand qualities of the white top, the black Guinness, the iconic glass. They're the only company I know that can create an advert about water and not even mention what they actually sell, what they actually do, and that you should drink something else other than Guinness and then publicize it. I mean, just amazing stuff.
The way that the company was founded, so it was founded about 300 years ago by Arthur Guinness, who signed, this is true, a 9,999-year lease on St. James's Gate, free, because that's one of the sources of Dublin mountain water.
That's mad.
And how they get the symbology as well, Peter, which adds to their brand, the harp. Now, the harp is the Brian Boru harp. Okay. Brian Boru was an ancient High King of Ireland, and even that is symbolic. So they know exactly what they're doing in terms of their branding.
Wow. That's, again, Irish knowledge coming to the front there. Not only Irish, but marketing knowledge. Marvelous, and that's what we're all about. I absolutely love it. We'll probably come back to that if we get a little bit bored later on. Talk a bit more about...
We never get bored, my friend. We never get bored.
Well, that is very true. That is very, very true. But let's try and stick to half an hour / 4 or 5 hours. I think the max live you can go is 4 hours or something. I can't remember anyway. Let's max it. Right. Okay. Let's get on to a few more serious elements and then we'll come back to the Guinness stuff and all that kind of stuff. So let's start with your background, a little bit of information about yourself, what you do and what you're all about right now. So everybody knows that what we're going to chat about and how amazing you are.
Well, I'm a chartered accountant by profession. Accountancy has always been in the blood, Peter. So degree in accounting, master's degree in accounting. Worked for a firm called Grant Thornton for 10 years, sort of one of the bigger global firms. Was an associate director with them. Then I moved into industry and became a financial controller of WKD, another alcoholic drink. Became a financial controller with them. Then I left and went to the government. I was in the government role for 4 years again as a financial controller, and then things happened in life where I had to take a career break, which then pushed me into starting a company or a business called Accounting Success Coach, which is my main thrust in terms of LinkedIn and in terms of my own business with that, which is to coach accounting students on their exams and also up and coming accountants and seasoned finance professionals through career development. So that's the main business. I am also a part-time teacher, a teaching fellow with the University of Ulster as well, and teaching accounting. So that's my background is all pure accounting.
Cool, excellent. And in a bizarre way, that's kind of how we met. With your pure accounting background, my pure marketing background, we're both in the educational field. We both teach marketing and finance professionally. So there was just really good connections. And the more we spoke about both, the more we realized from an educational point of view and just purely departmental, the links and the synergies between both of them were unreal. And then we got chatting about that and a whole host of other things we've got in common. But let's not mention that Liverpool are champions of the world and pretty much champions of everything, shall we? We'll just stick to the marketing and finance.
And that Father Ted is the greatest comedy ever written.
Forgot about that. Yeah. God. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic.
Absolutely. You're definitely right with the synergies in both marketing and accounting stroke finance, especially when it comes to getting that professional qualification. Look, an exam and an assignment is an exam and an assignment, albeit in a different topic, and the approaches, in my opinion, are very, very similar. So absolutely, that's where we had that definitely that professional thing in common as well.
Yeah, and
we've both been there and done it. I suppose that's which is the thing.
Yeah, that's very true. And I remember speaking to somebody. It was on another podcast, and they were saying that I can't remember what field they went into, but they went to a university and they sat down in a business lecture, and the professor started talking, and he said, "Can you give us an example of this, like that you've been part of?" And the professor said that, "Well, no, I've never been in business. I only know it academically." And the guy actually walked out. Yeah. Because he was like, well, yeah. You can't, I want to be successful in business, and there's only so far that I can go with you teaching me from an academic standpoint. If you haven't got any historical, practical application that I can learn from, then this isn't for me. And same with yourself and me. We've lived it, we've breathed it. And I think a lot of people don't give enough credit for the fact that, and it's all about storytelling. Marketing's all about storytelling, and we gauge with stories, and people don't give enough credit for, okay, this is the theory, but this is what happened to me, or this is a prime example of where it went wrong, or this is what we shouldn't do, because and I don't think people give enough credit for that.
Absolutely not. If you can live and breathe what you're teaching someone or what you're coaching someone, that really adds a lot to it. I don't think I would have as much gravitas or could help as much if I was a part qualified accountant. I couldn't do that. But because I have I qualified first time with everything, background's always been in the profession. In terms of career, I got to see very high senior management quite early. And now coming the other way with yourself, we're taking the entrepreneurial end and starting our own business and doing everything that comes along with that. I think we're both in the right areas to help others. And I think that's the main thing too, Peter. My end game is I'm not in this to create the next generation of accountants. I'm not. Okay. What I am about, though, is to help people live the life that they want by gaining a world-class professional qualification and by doing things that I learned to sort of propel your career forward and live the life you want. That's what I'm all about. You know what I mean? I'm in this to have a lifestyle business. So that's what I want to teach people how to do that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree from a slightly different standpoint. I think the thing that's missing academically, both marketing and finance, from what I understand from what you've told me, is the fact that we see it as this: I get this qualification, then I can do finance, I can do marketing, people will employ me, I become employable. Yes, it helps. Yes, you get a foot in the door. But what happens when things go wrong? You can't necessarily rely on what you've kind of learned. You need that practical experience. And what you said there was really interesting about end game. Then why do you want this qualification? And some people just want qualifications because it shows them they can do what they can do, which is fantastic and great. Not denying that at all. But others just want it to progress in their career as well. And yes, it might help to a certain level, but then I feel there's a lot missing that people don't talk about. For example, when I talk, there's the academic marketing and then there's the real life marketing. They're very, very similar. They both need to fit, but sometimes to get that qualification, you need to talk in a certain way, whereas in real life, you would do things slightly different. Is that the same in finance?
In terms of theoretical versus practical? Yeah. Yes. I'll give you a quick example of that. One of the topics that people find very difficult in accounting is if you're doing an auditing exam, especially if you've never worked in auditing. So if you work and you're doing someone's accounts, or if you're working in a tax department, you will find it incredibly hard to relate to auditing. But because I worked in auditing, I could relate to it, and that's something I can help people with a lot.
Okay.
But there's a massive difference between what it says in the books and what actually happens in real life. You know what I mean? So there is a very, very different practical element to it. And I suppose in my coaching, Peter, I very rarely talk accounting. What I do talk is about the practical applications of that accounting, because people can go and get all the material and learn from a learning provider, but I help to apply that, and that's a different thing. That's a different thing altogether. And then especially with career development, you can read all the books in the world about career development, but unless you've done it, unless you've done something, or you can talk to someone who's made all the mistakes like me, that's where you learn in that respect as well. So there's a massive difference sometimes between theory and practice, absolutely. But sometimes you have to know your theory before you do the practice.
Yeah, and that is the crux of the matter there, where the first live that I did with Dr. I, we were talking about education and all that kind of stuff, and saying that it's hugely important to know this theory, but theory alone wouldn't necessarily get you through in life, dependent on what you wanted to do. And it is that application. Whereas you flip it and you've got no theory, then you're very, very fortunate if you can craft a career of any substance within a certain field if you don't have that foundational level. And I'm presuming, so my thoughts on finance and that kind of area is that I wouldn't trust anyone that hadn't got a financial qualification to do my finances. I just wouldn't. But on the same respect, if I went to a chartered accountant, then I probably want them to have X amount years of experience rather than being that fresh out of qualification. Do you think once you got that qualification, you are ready to take on the world? Or what? Let me rephrase that. What are the things that aren't taught? So you've just passed the exam. What are the things that aren't taught that might hit you in the face when it comes to reality?
One point I will make, actually, believe it or not, and it is a point for debate within the profession, is that you can call yourself an accountant and not be qualified. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And you can actually, believe it or not. And some of the best accountants that I know aren't qualified. And the number of times that I tell them to get on the horse and get qualified is crazy, because it adds so much credibility. That's the buzz, credibility. So that's the first point. In terms of the next bit, if someone has just qualified and they've got the accounting qualification, what I would tend to suggest is that they stay where they are for perhaps a year or so, or two. And I don't know if it's the same in the marketing profession, but it's 1 or 2 years of what we call post-qualification experience in accounting. Okay. And that normally is where you learn a lot of things. So there are a lot of people who perhaps qualify, say, in accounting practice or within industry, perhaps. And I would say stay where you are and learn, because that's, especially if you're going to go into senior management. And one thing that happened to me, Peter, was that I went, and this was quite an extreme route. I went from being just newly qualified straight into a senior management role, and I wasn't even assistant manager. I wasn't manager. I was made senior manager. I was promoted incredibly quick.
Okay.
And I was basically said, "There's your portfolio of clients. Go and figure it all out." Right? That's what I was taught. So I had to sink or swim, and I learned it the hard way. Now, that was 10 or 12 years ago, and you would like to think there's a bit more of a change now with proper coaching and things like that. So what I would say to someone who is newly qualified is this: 1 to 2 years post-qualification experience and get a mentor or a coach. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I've said, I've made all the mistakes. I was the one who didn't know how to delegate. I was the one who had the sleepless nights. I was the one who was made staff manager at 28 with all my mates. I was then their boss. I made every single mistake in the book. So get a mentor who's been there and done it, because I'll tell you what not to do, you know?
Yeah, that is very true. And although we learn from our mistakes, there's some mistakes you just don't want other people to make, and others you almost feel like they've got to learn from those mistakes. And that's not to say that, okay, well you can come here and work for me, or I can be your mentor, but I'm going to let you screw up. It's not that. It's almost, well, this is my experience, but you're probably better experiencing it for yourself.
Absolutely, you have to walk before you can run.
Yeah. So just to go back to the question, is it the same in marketing? So what I would say for anybody that's looking for a career in marketing, slightly different. The approach that I would take is that I would say, don't jump to any particular position. Don't go for any particular job. Look at the company. Look at how they operate. Look to see if they're marketing orientated, or whether they're sales focused or production focused, because you will have a very, very different working life. If you work for a company that's marketing orientated, you will learn a shed load more than you will if they are sales focused, because what will probably happen is that you will be more comms based and you will be more admin based at the very start. Whereas if it's marketing focused, yes, you'll have that admin functionality because you're at the bottom of the ladder, but it will be marketing. It will be focused. So you'll get involved in product. You'll get involved in price, place. You'll get definitely involved in the communications, because that's kind of what anyone sees nowadays, is just the comms in marketing. And I think that's an issue we've got to face. But yeah, slightly different to what you would say in finance. My advice would be more about, think about the company and what they can offer in terms of your education in marketing.
It's funny, even as you say that, whenever I was in industry and then into business, once I left Grant Thornton, marketing was always seen as the sexy thing, right? Whereas finance is the boring thing, okay? But one thing I would say about accounting, if you are an accountant, is to go and talk to everyone else. Go and talk to the marketing department and sales department, because what tends to happen, or something that people have to realize, is that accounting or the finance department is the eyes and ears of the entire business. Therefore, you have to have relationships with marketing, sales, operations, treasury, whatever that may be. So that's one thing that if any marketing students are out there and you're within industry, go and talk to your accountants, go and talk to finance. Because remember, you're one organization. It's not them. And that sometimes happens where departments in one business think that they're competing. They're not.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned massively. In accounting, I believe the term accountant will be no longer in 5 years. We will be called business partners. That's what I believe we'll all be called.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because the numbers will take care of themselves through AI and blockchain. So we have to actually get off our seats and go and talk to people to improve the business. That's what's happening. So that's where marketing and finance will really coexist.
Yeah, it was a topic that I wanted to raise with you. Really, what can marketing ask finance, and what can finance learn or understand to have that better relationship within marketing? But completely agree. Like across the whole business, similarly within marketing, the fact that you need to be involved in pricing. So you kind of want to talk to the finance department to see if you're profitable or not. You need to be involved in the product, so technical and R&D and stuff like that. And the same for finance, you know, R&D, you could spend an absolute fortune on R&D and not get anywhere. But if you've got that financial backing to say, well, these are our pinch points, you can take it that far before we need to do this, we can rely on this product for that income, then, you know, the world is a better place. And I love the fact that you just said, we're one company and we work in silos sometimes. And that is a really, really sad thing. Just quick comment, well, two actually, from Connor. He says, yeah, the company can teach you so much, but love this one. Loving this. First time I tuned in. So I'm guessing that's because it's the first time you tuned in and you just looked out with James Perry being my guest. So,
well, hold on. I would have a guess. Connor O'Keefe, you have to have an Irish connection there.
Oh, there's bound to be. Connor, let us know.
Let us know, Connor.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got any Irish history related questions, now's the time to ask. Now's the time to ask them. Just on that, just to say, if anyone has got any questions about marketing and finance, marketing or finance, and how they coexist or how they work together, you know, please do speak up. Happy to take them on board. So, just going back to that question, from your point of view, from a finance perspective, what would you want to know from marketing so we can coexist?
The first point of anything with marketing or any other department, the first thing that always happens at the start of the year is budgeting. Yeah, okay. And this is where the battle normally starts. But again, it's having that conversation. So if you are a head of marketing, or if you're a head of that sort of department, again, is not to sit in your laurels and going, oh, we're going to get 5% on top of last year's budget. That does not work anymore. So the first thing is you need to go and talk to each other. And in terms of finance, Peter, or in terms of marketing, and especially it's maybe very topical now because unfortunately in business with a recession and a depression looming, what's the first thing to go? Marketing budget is cut.
Yep.
Okay, so that's other conversations that may need to be had, because the other school of thought is that whenever markets are low or whenever the economy is low, that's the time you need to promote. That is the time you need to invest. So it's actually really topical, the conversations that should be taking place between marketing and finance right now.
Yeah, I agree. So if anybody, and I'll put a link in the comments after this because I'll have to find it on my phone, but Mark Ritson, marketing professor and consultant, he wrote an article that was published today, and it was talking about sales funnels and stuff like that. But one of the examples he gave was, and I can't remember the company, but an insurance company in Australia, and basically the marketing officer, he doubled down on his advertising within this period, but he did it from a branding perspective as well as a sales perspective. So what he did, he went to finance and said, look, I need more money because of this. And he explained it. And what they did was they had this when no one was advertising, they put all their money into advertising, so they got a huge share of voice. And then what they did, they had these small mini campaigns where it was a case of, we know times are tough, so here's 10 Australian dollars a month to insure you for fire, theft, and damage. And that was the short-term tactic. And it just worked unbelievably well. And he gives some stats in that article, and it was just a perfect example of knowing the marketing, but also knowing to talk to finance and saying, look, this is the state that we're in, but through what I know and what I understand, we need to invest. And you can't really do that without your finance department being on board.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's really interesting you say that too, because even from a personal marketing standpoint, brand Peter, brand James, and I was actually in a course today, and it was a question that I put out there was, in the world of all this personal branding and personal marketing out there, how can you make yourself stand out? And it's the same with business, and it's the same with personal. It's the same personally. Whereas you're great because of your Lego, right? That makes you stand out. I probably stand out because I'm the most unstereotypical accountant you've ever seen. Right? I like to think I'm not boring. I like to think I've got a personality. But and I thought that was a really great question that was posed today. So I'm gonna be somebody who fires a question back to the host. What can people do, or what can businesses do to make themselves stand out from the crowd in today's climate?
I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head with Lego. Here I am, just for anybody that hasn't seen. Where are we? There we go. There's the fella. So yeah, I think it's being memorable or being known for one thing, who you are, and being true to that over a consistent period of time. So unfortunately nowadays we live in an economy, a now economy. Like, I ordered something from Amazon 8 a.m. yesterday morning, and it was supposed to arrive before 10 p.m. the same day. It didn't, but I've done that previously, and it's arrived the same day. And that is just nuts. It was an extension lead. And it's like, how are you making money off that? Sorry. Anyway, so be known for one thing. If you want a really good book to read, and a big shout out to John Asperian, it's called Content DNA. And what he says in that, he says that you should have kind of three things that everything you do gears around. So that could be, and I haven't nailed mine down. So I'm giving advice and I'm trying to follow it, but I'm not 100% there yet. I'm still playing around with a few things. So my non-negotiables are Lego, helpful, and witty. So everything you see from me should be either all those three things or one of those things. If it's not me. And so to build a personal brand, it needs to be individually you. And there's only one of you. Now, the problem you've got, James, you're in a great position because, like you say, if you said, Peter, what do I do? And I hadn't met you, there's no way I would guess what you do. So you being you stands out in your marketplace. Now, if you didn't, I would say become known for a particular thing. So whether that's you wear a bow tie, whether you wear a flat cap, whether you have a catchy strapline, whether you do all those things, it's about being consistent. And I don't care how dry or boring or unentertaining somebody thinks they are, they will appeal to a certain demographic. And don't focus on everyone. Even Harry Potter doesn't appeal to everybody. So if you're looking for 1,000 likes and to please 1,000 people, forget it. If you're looking to please 10, 15 people out of 1,000, you're on the right lines. So that's what I would say. Be known for the right things, but make it you. Because the one thing you don't want is to build up this personal brand of I'm James, I'm always funny, I'm always witty, I know loads of Irish history, and then I meet you and you know nothing about Ireland and you're just dull and boring. And I'm like, well, you're not the person I thought you were. And the one thing I would say, it's actually in this book, a quote from me, although I didn't originate the quote, but a brand is a promise, and that's the same for individuals. So when I'm talking to you, James, you've promised me that you will be engaging, you will bring your financial knowledge, you will bring your Irish knowledge, you will be true and honest and open. And if you weren't that, I'd just be like, well, something's wrong here. And that's who you are. So stay true to your brand and be known. So don't break that promise either. And if you're being false, you'll end up breaking that promise.
There are two things, and one I have actively worked on, and there are two things that are your superpowers. One is sleep, right? Sleep is definitely a superpower. I tell all my students that, and I'm not joking with that, folks. If you don't have your sleep sorted, get it sorted. But the second one is consistency, and that is the superpower that I neglected for a long time. So I would have been, especially even on LinkedIn for my own business, I would have been up here, massive peak, posting stuff doing well, and then you go into that trough, and you go into that trough of going, I'm not getting too many likes or follows or nothing. But that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you don't post, you're not going to get them anyway. To be perfectly honest, Peter, likes and all that sort of stuff and comments isn't necessarily my metric anymore, because of to try and get clients, I need to get eyeballs on my posts. So views, engagement, DMs in the background, having really good conversations with people is what I want to get from in this. But I have solved the problem now where I've got a VA. So I have got, over the last couple of years, and the intermittent posting and creating content, I maybe have 2 or 3 years worth of content on my laptop. And I went to my VA and I went, just you go nuts, which gives me that platform of consistency. And it's an education piece where I have to educate her where I want her to go with it. Now I could say she's slightly more creative than me in some ways. Not quite creative in other ways, but it also gives me the scope to engage. It gives me the scope to have those conversations with people in the background. And that's something. So another tip I would give anybody out there is that, given consistency is your superpower in whichever discipline, if you're not going to be so good at it, try and outsource that, because it is really, really important. And that's something I've learned massively. You know, I have probably over the last 6 months been more successful than I have the last financial year. And it probably is, in fact, there's no probably about it. It is because I've been much, much more consistent over the last 6 months.
So, and I suppose that's one thing that a lot of people take for granted. So a lot of people that class themselves as influencers or whatever you want to call them, you see them a lot. You see them over a consistent period of time. And that is because they're consistently posting, they're consistently on a particular platform, and you get to know them. And that's exactly what you were just saying there. It's all about the consistency, and using a VA, I think, is a great idea. And I'm toying with that idea right now. And I just think that I'm so glad you went to say that, you know, it's a bit of a learning curve, because the one thing you don't want to do is outsource and then you lose you. So I'm guessing in terms of the engagement and the conversations you have, that is still you. It's just the consistency is being helped with having this other person do the admin side of being consistent.
And I was very lucky who I got from my VA. So I have tried and tested, I should say, a number of people. But what I do personally, and this is nothing business related, is myself and a friend and another young lady have got a podcast, and we talk rubbish.
Is that Grin and Bear It?
That's Grin and Bear It with Rebecca, right? So Rebecca is now my VA, and that's where I've been quite lucky. Okay, so Rebecca knows me personally. She knows what I'm like. She is she creates movies. She's written a novel. She's not even 25 yet. She is fantastic in the way she thinks. She's very creative. And I went, okay, Rebecca, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I am creative, but I'm quite logical in the way that I think. Can you help me paint more of a story about me? but also it takes the burden off me to actually have it done and run a business at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, I'll pay you X amount a month. And she went, yeah, no problem. And that has been one of the best moves I've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I have paid people who don't know me. I have paid, and I've just been quite lucky that has happened for me. But it still is an education process, and it will be a continual process. I've noticed that the quality of my deliverables and my posts and my graphics and even the blurb and the wording of stuff on LinkedIn is infinitely better than what it was, say, a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it has evolved through my VA's help as well. So definitely get people on side that will help you, because we're not going to be great at everything. We can't be.
That is one fable, if that's the right word, within marketing. It's that, and I'm pretty sure anyone in marketing will agree that you have to be excellent at everything, and people expect you to be excellent at everything. So not only do you have to know the ins and outs of LinkedIn, but then you also have to know how to set up and design a brochure or a trade publication. And then you need to know the printing process and the difference between CMYK and RGB and the different types of paper, and because you're in marketing. And it's not true, because you cannot understand everything. It's nuts. Is that kind of similar in a way to finance or is okay.
Peter, people come to me and ask about tax all the time. I have never in my life done a tax return, ever.
I asked you as well, and you're like, no, I don't do it.
No, I don't even do my own. My mate does it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that is because I can draw up my own company accounts, not a problem. But my specialism whenever I trained was audit. So I used to go into other companies and audit their books to verify that what were called true and fair and basically reasonable. And I was a damn good auditor. And then whenever I went into industry, I drew up the books of WKD, the drink. I stabilized the finance team, and then I went and talked to the rest of the business. So I, for example, know nothing about pensions or tax or anything like that. And people come to me because I'm an accountant, automatically thinking that I know about that, and I don't. Right?
So many synergies there.
Absolutely, and it's probably the same in marketing. There's some areas that you're specialized at, and there's some areas that you're not. And that's the reason why in some of these big organizations, there get so many different departments. So, for example, Grant Thornton are known as chartered accountants, but you've got departments for everything. So and that's the reason why you can be what is it, jack of all trades and master of none. Yeah,
and there's loads of things to pull from that and discuss, really. And I'm just conscious of time. That's all. But
we could break the timer on.
I know, yeah. But they talk about the T-shaped marketer. So you've got a good grounding in all disciplines, and then you focus a speciality on one or maybe two, and that's fine. But the one thing I would say to that is that everyone's different and everyone's unique, and don't be pigeonholed into one thing or another unless you want to be a specialist in that area. If you want to be a specialist on PPC, on SEO, fantastic, brilliant. And then maybe branch out into other areas or know other areas of marketing. But if you want to be an all-round marketer, I think you need to know and understand a lot, but think more strategically, because that's the bit that's missing, the strategy element within marketing. We all go for the tactics, we all go for the comms, we all go for the video and the editing behind that and content creation and stuff like that. But it's the strategic element, because all that content creation is great. But like you said, with consistency, not only do you have to show up consistently, but you have to have a consistent message, which again goes back to your personal brand and being known for particular things. So, for example, for you, James, I know that if I see a post that is black and I don't know what color to call it, a turquoisey blue.
It's the color of the collar in Liverpool's home shirt.
That's where they got the color from. I wondered that. Brilliant. I love it. But yeah, if it's those two colors, then I know it's going to be James Perry and it's going to be talking about accountancy. And because that is, you've been consistent over a period of time with those colors. One, if you want to check out anybody that does that unbelievably well, there's a lady on LinkedIn. She's very prominent on LinkedIn called Mary Henderson. Her colors are pink, black, and gray. Unreal. Everything you see is pink, black, and gray. Every time I see something that's pink, I just think Mary Henderson's post.
I've actually signed up to her magazine. I've actually started to have, I'm going to have a couple of conversations with her, absolutely. I was very, very impressed with that.
Yeah, unreal. So yeah, that it's all about consistency. So we've kind of come full circle. So let's start to wrap it up here, because, like you say, we could break the internet if that's an actual thing.
Cool.
So last couple of things. So firstly, from a financial point of view, what would you say are some limiting beliefs about accountancy?
That's a good question. I'll talk about finance in general and business.
Yeah, cool.
So if you're a business owner and you're watching this, profit does not equal cash. That's a huge misconception with people.
Right. So what do you mean by that? Because I'm a bit confused by that one.
Okay. You can be the most it's a bookkeeping thing.
Okay.
So whenever you sell something, obviously you're going to invoice your customer, but you're not going to get paid at the same time. Okay. You're going to get paid in, say, 60 or 90 days time. That's the invoice adds on to your profit, but you still haven't got your cash yet. Okay. So you're profitable, but you've got no cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you can be an incredibly profitable business, but your business could be in debt.
Okay.
So if you've got no cash, your business will grind to a halt, irrespective of how profitable you are. So you could sell 1 million of something tomorrow and nobody pays you for it. You're incredibly profitable, you've got no cash. You're going to grind to a halt. That's one thing that business people always get wrong.
Okay.
It's the most, and the thing to piggyback off the back of that is cash is king. Cash is the most important thing in your business, full stop. Okay, that's the reason why we've got big marketing departments and we've got strong finance departments, because ultimately a business wants to get as much cash as possible. That's the be all and end all.
Wow,
what else were you saying there, Peter?
So we're talking about limiting beliefs, basically, and that's perfectly one of them. Because if somebody said to me, "What's most important in finance?" I'd go, "Yeah, don't think of turnover. Look at your profit."
Where I would say, look at the cash.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. So by a limiting belief, that is a limiting belief for me from a financial perspective.
Limiting beliefs then from a personal perspective in finance or in accounting. 2 aspects. No, I'll do this with exams and career development. Okay. Is the limiting belief in here.
Okay.
That you're not good enough, that you can't pass the exam, that, okay, you passed the exam, what's next? I don't have a clue what I'm doing. It's what I call the good old self-critic. And, that wee monkey, is that I rattles his cage every so often. We have probably all gone through it. That's the person, and that's the thing that constructs your limiting beliefs subconsciously. So what I would say is, folks, for any limiting beliefs you've got personally, look at them and recognize that they're basically lies. And the reason why they're lies is because they're there to protect you. So the monkey will be rattling its cage saying, James, you can't pass the exam. You can't pass the exam. Why? Because it doesn't want you to get hurt and get out of your comfort zone to do the exam again. That's the same with success as well in terms of your career. So actually the essence of limiting beliefs itself, challenge that essence.
That's that. I love that. That speaks to me an awful lot, particularly if you go down that route of entrepreneurship or just freelancing or whatever you want to call it. Then that's huge. A lot of people don't give enough credit to what you said, what's up here and what goes on through there, as opposed to what you see maybe online or front facing. Huge, massive psychology, huge.
There is 2 questions I ask my clients in session number 1. The first one is this: why are you doing this? SH1T, as they would say. Why are you doing this? And secondly is, what's the most important thing in your life? And with the most important thing, they'll say family, their dog, whatever. And I'll go, well, hold on a minute. Is it not your mind? Because without your mind, you can't comprehend anything else. The second question off the back of that is, do you look after it? And 99% of people go, no, I don't even know. The reason why I say that with such clarity, Peter, is because I had to go and find out myself. Because whenever I struggled with stuff, I had to go and find out and get loads of books to find out about it. So irrespective if you're in marketing, irrespective if you're in finance, that's something always to think about. Do you look after your mind? And in today's environment especially.
Yeah, completely agree. We can be trapped in that. I need to spend 15 hours a day on a screen just doing the work. Sometimes, yeah, you might have a day like that. But if that is your week, if that is your month, then after that, something needs to change because you are not going to be the same person you are at the very start of that month at all.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Right. So, final thing, most important thing. How is everybody going to connect with you? Because everybody wants to see this personal brand come through consistently from now on.
Yeah, the main thing for me is definitely LinkedIn.
Cool.
That's definitely the way to contact me. I think it's James Perry Accounting Success Coach. So it's LinkedIn/James Perry Accounting Success Coach. Or if you search James Perry, or if you search Accounting Success Coach, I'll come up. That's definitely the best way to connect with me. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, James, thank you so much for joining me today. Like we've said 2 or 3 times, we could ramble on forever, but let's give everybody a break and let's get out of the room and let someone else come in. Thank you so much for listening and staying with me till the end. Not many people do on podcasts. If you want to chat a bit more marketing, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. Email me at petersumpton@marketingstudylab.co.uk or join our Facebook group, Growing and Thriving. Just search for Marketing Study Lab on Facebook. Happy marketing.